Yo, this popped up on my YouTube today after like an autoplay. And I remember watching this video like a good 12 to 12 plus years ago, to be honest with you. It's with Yosef Ben Yakinen. And I don't know, I can't remember this guy's name, but Yosef Ben Yakinen. I definitely remember him. I watched a lot of his videos, but when you don't know what they're talking about, some things will just go over your head, or when you don't hone in on certain things. But listen to how he talks about Indian burial mounds. Now, we thinking they're being so on that Pan-African shit, which they were, but they were really going in about these mounds.
Complex out of the black man who felt that his only beginning and relationship here in this part of the world is that of slavery. Then it puts him in the driver's seat because, again, they don't tell you that they are man-made hills within the United States. They call them mounds. And they range from in the Midwest all the way down the eastern seacoast of the United States. And they have found artifacts in them that are similar to things found in West Africa and in Egypt, which is Northeast Africa, that predates the arrival of the so-called indigenous Indians to these lands. Another thing is, some years ago, one of the major television networks back in New York, I don't remember exactly which one, ABC or which, I did a documentary, and they said that these Olmecs are the ones who brought right into the Americas about 3000 BC. To tell blacks that they ought to be glad to enter into these schools of higher learning today in order to read and write, because their ancestors back in Africa couldn't read and write. You see what it will do to tell them that they brought right into the Americas? Antonio Pigafetta, that Dr. Ben mentioned, who sailed with Magellan when Magellan came to the so-called New World in 1519, when they landed at the land of Verzin, which we now call Brazil, they were met by people in canoes that carried as many as 40 people. And Antonio Pigafetta recorded that these people were jet black. It seemed that they came out of the infernal marshes. That meant that they were burnt. He said, naked and black as they are, in 1519, 27 years after Columbus's arrival to the so-called New World. Another thing they don't tell you, again, you heard my associate...
Why haven't we heard these things before? Why don't we read them in the New York Times, the Birmingham News?
If I stole another man's country and I brought your ancestors here to work for me, could I tell you how great your ancestors were and still expect to keep you in slavery?
Well, let me give you a better, not better necessarily, but an added situation of that. Most black people in Birmingham, Alabama, like in Harlem, New York, are Christians, and they go to in a black community, a black...
He starts to veer off into the religion of things, but let me show you some of those Egyptian things real quick. I show them all the time.
It's over 10 stories tall and covers 14 acres, making it the largest pyramid per square feet in the entire world. From this view, the chief would have been able to look out and see his empire stretching for miles in every direction.
The fourth and final terrace in Monk's Mound was strictly prohibited to everybody except for the chief and his family. This is where he would have ruled his forces. This is where he would have governed his people.
It looks like Pegasaurus to me. Stegosaurus. Stegosaurus. I don't know what else to say, man.
It has an analog in Angkor Wat.
Yeah. Now, of course, now in Illinois, we have this shark, and we have a whale, all from Illinois.
And these
are Michigan pieces. These three here, that's the Michigan tablet story, which is big unto itself. Copper, slate, and clay.
Okay, well, where was that found?
Well, these are found 1840 to 1920, all lower Michigan.
And upper Indiana.
Upper Indiana. I should say a couple in Wisconsin. 1920. That's when all this came out of the ground, but we can't say that. I'm not talking about the artifacts thing. Now, we got some other more ooh parts. This is brand new, just popped up a couple years ago. Guys digging a basement, was witness this came out of the ground. I don't know what it is, some property. This was found in the 1950s in northern Illinois on the Des Plaines River. And everything here is absolutely correct Egyptian. We did an article on this in Ancient American, compared to one found in Mexico on his back, 1979. and Jack purchased it from a private collector. So we got Egyptian stuff. This is a beautiful, this is an Adina lamp, oil lamp. This is I got it standing up for picture's sake. It sits on its backside. This is where you pour the...
I could keep stomping the receipts in your brain, but I think you get it. And I think the funny thing is we can start using some of these Pan-African sources or leaders against them, to be honest with you. I'm going to actually try to remember to comb through some of these old videos and see how many people was on their truth. I mean, he literally talked about, how about, wouldn't it be easier for you to just take over the land and make the people forget and instead of bringing other people and enslave the people? I mean, everything we're actually coming up with now, he said it then. Crazy. That means we're right.